under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Our first item on the agenda, we have some student recognition, students that we would like to recognize. I'll hand it over to Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's meeting, and as customary for our Board of Education to celebrate some fall athletes at the December meeting, it's my pleasure to announce a few of our student athletes who were named All-State. So thank you first for Coach Vigu and Coach Murillo for being here tonight, and thank you for all your efforts during what was a very successful season. I will start with a few of our student athletes from the volleyball team. So we have Callie Nanos here today. Coach was able to share some stats with me, so please allow me to go into detail regarding Callie's career. So Callie has 643 kills, 141 aces, 25 assists, 356 digs, and 91 blocks. Not only is that an amazing career, but it was capped off this year with a Class S state championship. Callie was also named the CHSCA Volleyball Player of the Year. So as I mentioned, led the team to the ECC Finals and the Class S State Championship. An amazing run. Callie, she's being celebrated tonight as an engaged collaborator because we've talked at other meetings about what it takes to be a good teammate, and Callie was a great teammate, a leader, and very successful in her career. So congratulations, Callie. Callie, if you wouldn't mind standing up so you could get an appropriate round of applause. The next student athlete is not here tonight. Our student athletes have a lot on their schedule. She's actually working. Respect her choice to be there, but we want to still honor her. Fallon Bailey, some stats on her: 673 kills, 76 aces, 28 assists, 400 digs, and 28 blocks, also earning her All-State honors. So congratulations to Fallon. Now from our girls soccer team, we have Magna Carpenter here. Magda is a two-time All-ECC All-Star, and she was the 2021 team MVP. She had 11 goals and 6 assists, leading the team to the ECC Division IV championship and a trip to the state quarterfinals. Congratulations, Magda, on an awesome season. Magda, if you could stand as well, we'd like to give you a Magda. And I know parents, you have activities in the gym tonight as well. If you're not the lead photographer, you might be a parent watching a child play. So please feel free to head back to the game. Rita, if you wouldn't mind taking a picture of them in the foyer, that would be great. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
I am also very happy and proud to acknowledge Mrs. Jessica Scorso tonight. If you remember, not too long ago, Jess stepped up to take the interim position as principal at the elementary school in what everybody was hoping would be a much smoother year. And, I think I speak for everybody that this year has been once again challenging, and to have Jess's calm presence, her confident leadership, the use of her background as a school psychologist, and just overall being a great person. She's done a fabulous job leading that community, and tonight I'm going to assign her as the principal of LES. So congratulations, Jess. Also very excited to continue to round out our leadership team. Just last meeting we were talking about Cheryl Beaker accepting a position in another district. Tonight we are excited to announce Dawn Delia as our Director of Pupil Services. Dawn, if you don't mind standing. This is the first time First time Dawn actually got to meet some of the rest of the administrative team. She did go through a pretty rigorous interview process, required multiple times coming back, not only answering a bunch of questions, but doing a performance task. And we had a committee of roughly 10 people, and Dawn rose to the top of that interview process, so we are pleased to have her. She has a 6-year degree in educational administration from Sacred Heart University. She has a Master's of Science degree in special education from Southern Connecticut, and she has spent since the year 2000 in the Griswold Public Schools as a special education teacher, team leader, professional development facilitator, and she is eager to get started here in Lebanon, and we are happy to have her. She will be starting the second week of January.
Well, welcome, Dawn.
So now from additions to some letters of resignation. The first letter of resignation is from Corey Tobler. Corey is resigning from his position as varsity soccer coach. He said it was a pleasure to coach here at Lyman and that the administration has been very supportive during his time. The next letter is from Olivia Soroyce. She's resigning as a resource room special education teacher for the Lebanon Public Schools, specifically her assignment at Lyman. She's enjoyed her time serving in the Lebanon Public School and feels that she's grown immensely with the collaboration and support of many team members. She specifically identified her time as the startup teacher within the Scales program at LES, working with Rita, but then she also paid special thanks to Jay and Sam for their gracious, welcoming attitude, making her time at the high school enjoyable, and she will look back fondly on her time as a Lebanon Public Schools team member. And the last letter of resignation tonight is from Jennifer Thompson, who is the administrative assistant to the director of Pupil Services. So she is very grateful for the time that she spent here in Lebanon. She has developed many friendships and relationships and learned a lot that she'll take with her to her new position. She has always felt welcomed and a part of a family and been awed by the determination of our staff to push forward for what's best for the children of Lebanon, and she wishes us nothing but success in the future.
Great. All right, thank you very much. We also have some email communication that I would like to share. The first email was a thankful email for the board's support of the baseball seating project, written by Ms. Bender. We also received a phone voicemail from Ann Green, and just shortly an email from Shelley Lanebrant, both regarding their concerns for the vaccination clinic. We also received email communication from Paul and Kristen Franson regarding the nurses' pay, and that issue is currently, we're currently continuing discussions and addressing those issues as well. Okay, we will move, is that it for communication? Yes, okay, we will move right along to our public participation section of our agenda. The Lebanon Board of Education bylaws. According to the bylaws, we will allow about 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes of the meeting. Each individual speaker can have 2 minutes, so we'll have 2 minutes. You're asked to come up to the microphone, turn on the microphone, state your name and address, and address the board. At this time, is there any member of the public who wishes to participate this evening? Okay, great. Okay, seeing none, the board does want to recognize and encourage public participation. The board is eager to hear concerns or questions or suggestions or compliments. So if you would like to participate publicly, we do encourage in-person communication. Moving right along to our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by John, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving along to our student representative report. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi. This is on, right? It's the
Yes.
straight line? Okay. So I'll start with the elementary school. I got to meet with them again virtually, which was super fun. They told me they're excited to learn about plate tectonics as well as the continents and coding. They're learning coding in their technology class, which was very interesting to me, and they seem very excited about it. They have a winter chorus concert on the 15th, and they're going to the senior center to perform the same songs. Everyone's super excited. And when I talked to them, which was about 2 weeks ago, I believe, they were excited for Tinsel Tuesday, which was where everyone got to dress up in like holiday decorations. So that was cool. Moving to the middle school, I did not get to meet with them this month, unfortunately, just because I was a little busy. But I will get to meet with them next month, so I am in the process of setting that up. But drama started at the middle school. I'm directing the play. I think I mentioned that last time. And we had our first meeting on Monday, which was cool. We have about 43 kids, so it's a good turnout. Auditions are tomorrow, and I think it's going to be really good. There was a lot of energy at the meeting, so I think it's going to be great. We're doing a walk in the woods, which is about like a bunch of fairy tales, so that will be awesome. And with the high school, Miss Lyman happened last week. It was super fun. Mr. Appicelli, am I allowed to say the winner? Because I know sometimes you can't recognize students without checking.
It's fine.
Okay. Kristen Goodrich won, and it was super fun. I hosted that in a shark costume, if you didn't see we also had a pajama day last week to raise money for the Connecticut Children's Hospital cancer research, and that was cool. A lot of people participated. Musical rehearsals are going well. Musical's in March, so it's going along nicely. There's a trivia night this Friday. I will also be hosting that in a shark costume. Trying to get my money's worth, if you can tell. So that's for NHS, and I think people are going to get excited about that. And I know that over at the Ag Wing, they're selling Christmas decorations, which is cool. I bought a wreath. A lot of other people are buying wreaths. Like when I put in my order form, it was totally booked. So that's cool that they're getting involved in that way. And then moving on to sports. So I only have information on boys basketball, unfortunately. But I know there's a game going on right now for girls basketball. So for boys basketball, they have about 16 to 17 players. The first game is this Saturday. They are excited to be playing a full season as well as postseason. And they're really optimistic about this year because I know last year was a little difficult with COVID. With wrestling, they have 17 wrestlers, and in the first 2 weeks of training, they have shown significant improvement. So the coach is very optimistic about how they're going to do this year. And then for indoor track, there's 35 members, which is a lot more than there have been in especially recent years. It has been a little bit difficult to practice just because you can't do indoors, but they have been able to get outside a lot, so that's been good. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
I am feeling a little pressured for the shark outfit myself next meeting.
It was like $40. Like, I gotta wear it.
You are getting your money's worth.
Gotta find places to wear it.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Right.
thank you, Rachel.
Yeah. And if it's okay, I am gonna step out just because.
Absolutely, yes, thank you so much. Okay, we will move right along to our reports of committees, and as everybody knows, we have brand-new committees, along with our new committees come new committee chairs. Some committees have not yet met, but we will just go around the table and talk about say which committee we're chairing, and then move along. And if we've met, we give a report. Okay, so why don't we start on this end? Dawn.
So I'm now chairing Safety and Security, and we have not met.
Great, thank you.
Mine won't be that short. I'm Danelle. I'm chairing the Curriculum Strategic Plan Committee again, and we did meet tonight. We went over 5 different matters. First was the proposed coursework recommendations. We heard those last month, and we had a little time to discuss them, make some suggestions, and we'd like to accept all of them. We think that they would be great assets to to Lyman, so we're happy about those. Next was a British Lit English textbook recommendation. It's been on display at the Jonathan Trumbull Library, and I was able to talk to the librarian over there who said she's never seen so many people come in and check out a book before. So I'm glad for that. It's getting the community involved. I haven't gotten any feedback from anybody that's checked it out other than the people in my own committee, but it's been on display there. It'll be a month on Friday, so then I think Rita gets it back for the school. And we noticed that it is extremely comprehensive as far as preparing teachers for teaching the subject. Cultural relevance is in there, connections, internet stuff. One of the concerns we have is just how the teacher presents the material to make sure that they're focusing on being objective about the content and facilitating discussion rather than leading discussion. But that happens in any class, so just something to think about. And then next was a policy recommendation. We're going to discuss that again in the future because there was some confusion about what we're actually supposed to be discussing for online course credits versus remote learning. So we're going to get some clarity on that for next month. And then we discussed our SRO, Kevin Slonsky, and what he's been up to. He's been involved here focusing mostly on the safety and security welcoming of students overall, but he does have a club during X Block. And that's exciting to hear about that. Most of the people that attend that, Rita told us, are people that either have police in their family already or they're interested in pursuing a career in the police force, so in law enforcement, so I think that's exciting too. We're encouraging him to eventually do a little bit more in the elementary and middle school, especially focusing maybe on the fourth graders and their transition to the middle school with subjects like bullying. There is some discussion about texting at the middle school area. Hopefully that carries over when they go to the high school. They'll remember some of the things they were taught and discussed. And then the last thing we had was an update on our math program, and there is great excitement between the iReady and illustrative math programs. The teachers have gone on other school sites to see what's happening there and to see how other teachers are using it. It's a pilot program at our school, so there'll be more exciting discussion, shall we say, in the future about where we're going to go with that in Lebanon Public Schools. So great work by Rita and our administrators for courses in the future.
Great, thanks, Danelle. Any questions for Danelle for curriculum? No? Okay, John, Superintendent eval. Oops, sorry, you're not supposed to say that.
That's okay. I'm chairing the superintendent's eval again this year. And we did not meet, but I did send an email about 2 weeks ago to the board members, and quickly, I think by the end of January, we want to have our mid-year evaluation done. So if you could, you can submit some suggestions or some information to me by the first week of January. Would be great. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Alexis.
Negotiations would be my chair for this committee, and we have not met.
Great. Maureen.
Policy met tonight, and we have 3 policies for first reading, and we hope that you'll agree to those when we bring them back next month. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Maureen. And Nicole?
I am the chair of the Facilities Subcommittee. So we met tonight just for 8 minutes. We talked about the door replacement at both LMS and LES. We are waiting for parts to come in. And adding 2 doors at Lyman as well, waiting for quotes for those. We also talked about the camera installation project, which is now complete. That does include the camera added to the courtyard at LES and 3 replacement cameras at Lyman. We talked about the crack sealing at Lyman, which is completed. And then line striping at Lyman will take place in the spring. We also talked about the LMS painting project. Projected date of start is now December 20th. If that can't start, then the company will work over the holiday break, and they will have it complete by January 3rd at no additional cost. Then we talked about the Wi-Fi access points. All the parts are on back order. 29 of 137 access points came in, so they're waiting for the rest. And the rest can be delivered in February of 2022. And also Jacques informed us that he wants to add an access point outside of LES, and it's best for Pick My Kid, so the teachers outside can use better technology for dismissal. And then finally, we talked about the baseball seating project at Lyman. The block is ordered for the retaining wall, and work can start as soon as possible pending board approval tonight. And that is it.
Thank you, Nicole. I had one question about the cul-de-sac, not the cul-de-sac, the...
Culvert.
Yep. Yep. Do we have a start date for that?
For the Wi-Fi access point?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, culvert, that's what, I couldn't think of the word. We have talked about that in facilities before, the two spots at Lyman in the driveway.
Catch basins.
Catch basins,
Oh,
thank you.
We did not discuss that at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
just can we throw that on your radar?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome, thank you, Nicole. Any other questions for Nicole for facilities? Okay. Matt?
Hi, I'm on the financial chairman, and we are going to get rolling here. I'm going to be starting up this Thursday. I'm going to start talking to Andy, and we're going to go from there. And I suspect that we're going to be seeing a lot of each other in the next month or two.
Got it.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Bruce?
I'm Bruce Califf, and I'm glad to be on the board here with all of you. And we haven't met yet, and I'm looking forward to learning what I'm supposed to do.
That's right.
Chairman of.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, and I did want to tell you, governance also did meet. One topic that we are going to be looking into a bit further is a membership to CABE. We had talked about becoming a member to with CABE, which is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. There is a fee associated with that. What I'd like to do is get a renewed quote. The quote that I got, I believe, a year ago has since expired. So I'm going to reach out to CABE to get a new quote, and hopefully I will be back with some more information for you next month. Okay? Okay. Great, thank you all, and reach out if you need anything as far as your new committees. All right, we'll move right along to administrators' reports. Are there any additions to the administrators' reports? Yes.
Come on down, Mr.
Yes.
Epicelli. This will be real quick, because the student rep, there's nothing that has happened at Lyman that you are not aware of now after her report. But the one thing I did want to mention is this is the first year that we have been able to get all of the some of our surrounding school of choice towns in. So, last year we could not get Basra and Franklin, due to, COVID considerations, get them in. But we managed to get them in this year. And we also managed to get Sprague in. And that was the first time that district has come here in the entire time that I've been here, and probably ever. And, throughout the whole experience with all three of those towns, we have gotten some great feedback. A lot of them didn't understand what Lyman was, and it was great getting the kids to come through here. And we ended all three of those down in the barn, where the kids actually got to hold baby lambs. And that right there, it set such a great tone for the visit. And, some of the feedback that we got from the teachers was that was enough right there to sell some of their kids on our program. And it was great. And, especially the people from Sprague, they were like, we didn't know you guys were like that. And we have been invited to
that town to speak at like an open house where they had all the town's, all the different high school options for them. But we didn't get a lot of traction in there. Nobody did, because it was in the cafeteria and just nobody that night made it in there. So this was a really worthwhile experience for the teachers to go back and tell people, but the kids as well. And I've been communicating back and forth with some of the 8th grade team leaders that came here, answering questions, and it was really good establishing that connection. Yes.
Is there a possibility of building on that for Sprague, mostly because they've never been here before, maybe with some of the people that didn't come or weren't coming that might want to come because of what they heard about?
In terms of other towns?
Like a second opportunity for people?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the principals from one of those schools said it would be great for us to start getting maybe in like April, the 7th grade, to do like a quick little tour here, and then get them again. Here's some of the new things that we put in, and now you can see them in action. You're going to hear about them in April, but now you'll get to see, maybe you get to see the drone program, or maybe you get to see, this is our new CNA room that you guys could be, a part of. So, yeah, that possibility exists. Yes.
How many students approximately from those 3 towns would you say came? Is it all in one night?
No. It was 3 separate days.
Okay.
They each had their day. I think, what was Sprague? Sprague was like 30?
Yeah.
Sprague was like 30. That was the biggest one. Basra had, I think, 23. And Franklin, I think, was like 17. Yeah.
So I know I'm putting you totally on the spot right now, and you probably don't even have the answer, but approximately how many students attend Lyman right now from Sprague?
I want to say it's small. It's like 3.
I was just thinking 3. I'm thinking 3.
Yeah. Thinking 3.
Your biggest one is Franklin?
In terms of the number of kids here?
At Lyman, currently.
No, it's probably Basra.
And how many from
out of those? There's 14 right now.
14.
And there's no seniors.
And Franklin, how many would you say are here?
What do you think? Maybe 7?
I was going to say 8.
So I mean, you get,
Yep. So that's really good, because you're like doubling and tripling your numbers just by this visit.
I think too, to go back to Matt's question, sorry, I should have just come up. We sent out, Jay and I typed a letter to the districts, to the principals, to send out to families, and we've offered tours. And actually, so people have started taking us up on that. So they walk around with Jay or I after school. We also have had multiple shadows. So we'll set them up with a 9th grade student, sometimes a 10th grader, if they know the student, and they'll shadow them for the day. So,
do you follow up as well? Like after this visit, do you call them and say, "Hey, still interested?"
So the letter was sent after the visit, and it just talks about what they saw, and then also, please feel free to schedule a tour, and they have. So.
Very good.
Go ahead, Andy.
What I was driving at is the person that didn't come, that after having their friend come, or their acquaintance, or someone else come, who now wishes they had come.
Well, they all
That's
came.
the kind of person.
The whole grade comes.
Yeah, the whole grade comes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't realize that.
If there was a kid absent, though, our letter to them says, please come and set up a tour after school, or if you want, spend the day with us and shadow.
I didn't realize the whole grade.
Yeah,
no, that's what it was. It was the entire grade.
It was during the school day, and we specifically choose our X block time so that they can see other things that we do outside of the academic time. So the times are always around that time.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up and thank Jay, Sam, and the entire Lyman staff for being so welcoming to these communities. I think additionally to these in-person visits and the follow-up with the letter, they've worked hard on putting together the video to highlight Lyman. I know that the VOAG ASTI program has their own video in addition to the highlights that they have as part of the Lyman video. And we had sporting events held from some of these sending towns. So I think the efforts to make connections and to outreach to some of these communities has been really, really well done this year, and we hope to piggyback on that in future years.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Any additional comments to the administrators' reports? Any questions for the administrators?
I have no, just quick things. We did collect our CCMC PJ Day money, and we collected $612 and still counting. So that was awesome. And just another mention, our school social worker has been going into the older students' classrooms and talking a little bit more about internet safety this week too. So another addition to our report. Thanks.
That's great news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the administrators' report? Okay, moving right along to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. In your packet, you'll have the latest enrollment. I would start at the bottom there and look at our total numbers. If you look at what our number is now of 957 as compared to what it was in early September of 937. Much of that increase is due to enrollments in the preschool program as we continue to screen and enroll kids. But there have been additions throughout the district, and to answer Nicole's question from a previous meeting, we did have this year 3 high schoolers that were out at a tech school come back, and we had 2 who were previously in the Barrows STEM Academy in Wyndham, which only goes up to 8th grade. They elected to come back.
2?
Yep, come back to Lyman. Any questions about enrollment?
So most of the enrollment for this month came from elementary. In fact, I think except 1, right, from the middle school. Okay. And these were new families that came in?
Yes.
And then I'm assuming preschool is because they reached the age and you're now having screening every month?
We continuously screen throughout the year.
Okay, right,
Yep.
and they reached the age where they can enter. Gotcha. Great.
That is great news.
So as Matt hinted, we are going to get very busy with budget. Val has been working very hard in the business office to help take everything that the building administrators have given. They've got all of their supply requests, all of the teacher requests. They've put them together very nicely in binders. They've had meetings with Val and I. Additionally to just the supply line item request, I've also asked them to let me know what they think they need to take their building to the next level and our district to the next level in terms of staffing. So as you can imagine, the number I'll share with you now is larger than maybe it will be after further deliberations and considerations. So with all of the supply line requests and all of the staffing requests, we are at a 3.9% increase for an initial number, which I do think is pretty respectful and responsible given the times and what we need for our schools. But we are well aware that this is only the starting point. We will have further meetings. Actually, Val and I have already had about 2 or 3 where we've put together some potential cuts. For the January meeting, what we will do is we're going to come back with a tiered cut list, which kind of goes in priority order. If we had to make cuts, these are the first things that we would go. We'll color code those in red, and we have another section in yellow, which are the items that we believe should have further discussion, and then the green items that we'll include on that list will be what we want to include in the budget for next year. And those conversations will include all stakeholders, obviously going back to the building administrators, but before the next meeting in January, I will also have staff and community input sessions that will be advertised and offered.
Is there any room when you do that, sort of looking over everything, any room for looking at projects that have been on the table for years and haven't been touched?
like capital.
For example, yes.
So the capital request will come separate from
Okay.
the operating budget. But Kevin obviously does have a facilities budget that is within the operating budget. Typically, the big projects don't fall in there. They would be on the capital request list.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding that preliminary number? Just so that you kind of have in your thought process, it's roughly, Val, correct me if I'm wrong on number, roughly like $210,000 per percent. So as we get ready to be talking about possible cuts and where we might want to go as a Board of Education, just keep that thought in mind.
It's helpful information, thank you.
Our COVID-19 update, these numbers reflect last Friday. Our COVID dashboard is updated every Friday. So as a district on Friday, December 10th, we had 9 positive confirmed cases for students, and we had 0 confirmed positive cases of staff at that moment. Cumulatively, we are about 100 for the year in terms of positive cases with students, and we're still below 10 for positive cases for staff. The screen and stay has allowed us to keep roughly 150 students in the building when they're asymptomatic to continue in-person learning. So there has been a benefit there. We are continually looking at the data to make sure that along with screen and stay are not increased cases and in-school transmission, and being very mindful of, if that does take place, a strong consideration to have screen and stay no longer be an option, or for a short duration will be something that we'll have to talk about as a team, building administrators, the nurses, etc. But again, every Friday this is updated. It's always available on our webpage.
I have a question.
Yes?
How necessary, I know I'm going to cause waves as I say this, but contact tracing, is that a mandate from the health department, or is that something that we're doing?
So the only mandate we're under right now is the mask mandate. So everything else that we're using in terms of protocols are best practice and recommendation, and we have deferred to epidemiologists at the State Department and within Uncas Health to give us the guidelines for contact tracing.
Okay, so the reason why I say this is because I'm looking at last year, and I feel like we have not moved except for we've taken out the remote learning. We're like almost back to last year again, and we've got masks in schools, we have vaccines for all age groups now, and we're still doing contact tracing. And I'm not understanding why we need to, because I mean, recently I've had my kids home for 10 days during the Thanksgiving break. 2 perfectly healthy boys running around crazy in the house when they should be at school. And I know I'm not alone in saying this. I know there's plenty of parents that question, like when you give those emails, Andy, like, and there's like 5 every day now that this person has COVID, this person has COVID. With all the things that we have in place now, with like spacing, with masks, with vaccines, I don't understand why we have a need for that anymore. Like, just right now, it's like, to me, it's like the flu. If your kid is sick, you leave them home. But if they're not sick, you know, put them in school, because that's where they belong. And like, we're trying to fight this whole going backwards, the learning loss, or, you know, whatever we want to call it, from last year. It's really hard to do that when these kids are being quarantined all the time. So I'm putting my 2 cents out there, because I'm still not seeing the progress that we're making from last year. We're like right back to last year again, and I can't stand that. Just putting my 2 cents out there. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way.
So I can definitely bring that concern to Uncas Health representatives and even to the State Department when we have our meetings on Tuesday, and see what they envision in terms of contact tracing moving forward. The one thing that has added to our ability to keep kids in is the screen and stay option. So even if your child is identified as a close contact and they're asymptomatic, they can stay in school.
Only if they weren't, what is it? You weren't affected in school or out of
So
school?
that,
One of them.
yeah, so that's the tough part, and, not to make light of any of the cases that we have had in school, because there has been. But being the one who gets the last layer of data that gets entered into Uncas Health and the State Department, we are finding that much of the transmission is family spread, is outside of school functions, and in those cases, you're correct, Nicole. There is no screen and stay option. So in the latest State Department and Department of Public Health meeting, they talked about possibly considering changes to the screen and stay model. They did not hint as to what that would be, but I think they're working very much like we are as a district to try to improve practices as this evolves. So I think the screen and stay option was a step in the right direction in terms of keeping kids in school, but there's so many different scenarios. It is hard to sort out sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the social emotional, I see like staff members burned out, I see kids off the wall, I see nurses working till 6 o'clock at night, and it's like, why? I don't understand, so I'm just trying to I want like progress from last year, and I'm just not seeing it. Sorry.
We're all ready for some progress. Right, Dawn?
I totally hear you. My family has taken advantage of screen and stay. But I want us to be careful not to conflate two separate items here, because you're asking about contact tracing, which is which is what we are doing as a district, but also talking about exposure outside of school. So I brought my boys to the PTA event on Friday night, and that wouldn't be considered an option for screen and stay, but we aren't contact tracing for that. So I just want us to be careful about what we are doing as a school and the fact that screen and stay is an option, and we don't do contact tracing for that, the outside of the school stuff. But screen and stay is not an option for that. So I want us to be careful about how we are kind of putting both of those separate items on top of each other.
Danelle, did you have something?
Yeah, I think what I've noticed, and maybe this is just in regards to my family, I feel like they're being contact traced more often as a close contact. So I'm wondering if in school, is there less distance in classrooms? Is there more interaction? You know what I mean? Like it used to be 6 feet, 3 feet, 15 minutes. Now it seems like if you're in the same class as someone, then you have to be contact traced.
Well, I know that's not true. It's when they have no masks on. That's when they have to be contact traced. When you don't have a mask on, when you're eating lunch, or when you're doing sports, or, one of those things. But it's not just from being in the classroom. Regardless, I will just say, I'm sorry, Andy, I know you...
No worries.
I know that we have had more cases now than we actually did last year. So, but we also know a lot more now than we did last year. Go ahead.
So a couple things. I hear the not making progress, and while I think we're all frustrated that we're still living through this and it's very difficult, we've had our students in person every day. So I think that's progress in its own right. To your point, yes, we have moved back to getting them closer together, and we have moved back to best practice of group work and, collaborating with your peers and things of that nature to try to bring back some normalcy. So do we contact trace maybe a little bit more closely because of that? Sure. But to Sarah's point, we're still masking, and trying to be very strict on that mitigation strategy. I also just want to provide some perspective. While I know that we are, if not at or past where we were in last year's total, a neighboring district had 52 cases just last week that resulted in 396 students being quarantined. Just last week. Those numbers are higher than we have had all year in some situations. So we're we're not where we want to be. I think anyone in the room in this community would say that. But I do think we've made some great progress, and things are going well in terms of how we're handling a very, very difficult situation.
Jay?
Well, I was going to say, a great example of that is what's going on in the gym right now, because that was not even...
Are we winning?
I don't know.
We're close.
Okay.
I don't know.
We're close. It's 25-21 at the half.
Okay.
So, that's good. But, that didn't even start, we didn't even start our winter season last year till February, and 2 of the winter sports programs didn't even have seasons. So,
It's true.
that's
progress.
a huge plus.
Very true. Thank you for that perspective. Any other comments?
Okay, one final comment, and this is like as a side note. So if things are going to stay the same and we're going to do contact tracing and we're really going to be diligent about this, I would like to propose that we increase the secretaries to 2 full-timers, because I don't think those nurses can do that job all by themselves. And I know they have help from the administrators, but the administrators have their own jobs to do, and the nurses have their own jobs to do. I think they need help. And I think we're talking about maybe $30,000 to increase those 3 half-timers to full-time. I think the schools need help. It's just something to consider. I'm throwing it out there. You can think about it.
Dawn?
I would also like to piggyback on that, not necessarily in terms of, or in addition to your comment, but the bus situation is not good, at least not in my experience. And my kids get put on different buses sometimes because they just don't have enough bus drivers. And so the secretaries are the ones who are having to make all, or I don't know, this is my experience. It seems like it's the secretaries are, there's just all this added load. And so how can we support them in everything that they're doing?
So it sounds like we have some feedback for some ideas to ease the load on some employees. And we'll give that to Mr. Gonzalez and let him take some time to think about that.
Sure, thank you. The last thing within the report of the superintendent is an exciting opportunity called CT Grown for CT Kids. It's a grant opportunity. Phil Chester was here sharing some of the reports, or recommendations from the town report. And then we have continued our conversation, and Charlotte Ross, who is a parent but also a local farmer, came in with him, and we talked about this grant opportunity. We've worked together to put together a proposal. Val and I tomorrow are going to try to go after that grant portal and see if we can figure it out and get this application there. We're really focusing on experiential learning opportunities as a part of this. The grant gives you 4 parameters that you can kind of look into. Eventually, we'd like to explore all of them, but really to have a focused starting point, we're looking at how can we bring in local farmers to meet our students, to talk about their work, to get fresh food in their hands, to do taste testing, etc. at the elementary level. What could they be doing more at the middle school level, and then connecting with our students in the ASTE program. I think it's a creative way to try to weave in to the curriculum some of these opportunities without having it be like a full-blown curriculum, which obviously would take extensive work. Additionally, we're looking at some of the infrastructure things and seeing how we might be able to take some of the food that's produced right here in our community and actually bring it to the students in the cafeteria and make that work. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to look into. There's no guarantees that we would get the grant, and there's no guarantees that Val and I will figure it out tomorrow, but we will get it done before the December 20th deadline.
Great. Any questions on that? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Moving along to our facilities report.
So Val told me she passed these out with the board packet, I believe.
Yep.
I don't have a lot to add to what Nicole said because she pretty much said everything that's on this list.
I have a question, Kevin.
Yeah, if there's any questions, that'd be great.
So this, I know there's a couple of these floating around, but this one that was on our table, the one that says replacement of district doors and hardware, it says board approved and it says no. I thought we were approved that.
It has been approved.
So that's a typo that needs to be fixed, right, okay, that's it. And then the other ones have not been fixed, so that's cool.
And again, the painting's starting the week of the 20th and, you know, so on and so forth. The doors and stuff, the hardware's on order, it's coming in.
So if I could add while Kevin's looking at stuff, in case you have any questions for him, I think we're in a great place in terms of how we're moving forward with spending down the capital. That has been something that the Board of Finance has communicated that they'd like to see, that we're using that. So we are in a great place in terms of fully expending the capital list that Kevin has proposed and planned. So right now, after we get these projects done, I know Kevin has hinted about a few others that we will bring to you and talk about. But because everything is in such a waiting game, we want to start to knock out some of these things first, get them done, know that there's no additional costs or anything anywhere, and then move on to the last couple that we have. But I think we're in a really good place.
Alexis?
If we could just address the catch basins now while we have Kevin.
The catch basins, I keep being told it's on the agenda or on the calendar, if you will. I'm thinking they'll be done by the end of the year. That's all I'm going to say. I can't. I've talked to the superintendent multiple times about it.
Just so I can back up Kevin here in his efforts, Kevin and I meet very frequently. Every time that we've talked, I've asked for an update. It's been 14 days, and it's been 10 days, and both times those timelines were not realized.
Is it because of materials not coming?
I don't believe so, no.
So it's because of him not doing the work?
Correct.
Because he's backed up with other jobs?
I suppose.
And then it was just another thing, Kevin. We had the curbing at LES for the utility field. It was mentioned by a couple PE teachers of not being able to get students out there. We've had some great weather. I just didn't know if that was done through the town or if you were still helping coordinate that.
You talking about the curbing in the driveway?
Yes, so that they could actually get students to the utility field if needed. That was, I think it was brought up it might have been a while ago, and it might have just...
Oh, is that an ADA compliance thing? I went to the town. It's not, I don't have to do anything legally. I can revisit it and get back with a number, but it's not a requirement of the town.
We'll look into it.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, if we could look into that.
This is the bus loop you're talking about?
It's the curbing to get to the utility field that was approved by the town.
In the lower parking lot by the utility field.
Correct.
Yes.
What's the utility field?
It's the new soccer field.
So on the far end of the parking lot.
Soccer field. Oh, gotcha, okay.
Right, politically correct, we need to call it the utility field, because that's how we got it approved, through the town. However, there is no access for our LES students who are in wheelchairs or
Okay.
have handicaps that need to get over there. There's no way for them to get there safely.
Okay, so even though it's not a requirement, I'd be looking, you want me to put an ADA compliant entry in there, probably with a sidewalk, getting out into the field, I take it.
We just need them to get there safely. I don't know
Okay,
what that's
okay.
going to take, but it would be nice to be able to get a chair there without them having to jump the curb.
I got it, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? Go ahead.
Kevin, I mentioned to you in between about that oil tank that we're still waiting for the generator.
I was told a week ago it was 4 weeks from Cummins
Right.
Metro Power.
So the only concern I'm just going to mention is that we're not under any risk of having a spill or contamination with the current tank that we have, where we would suffer any repercussions from
It's
the
just
PET.
starting to sort of, it's called porosity leaking, if you will.
Okay.
That's how I flagged it in the beginning. It hasn't gotten any worse.
Okay, I'm just concerned about, a DEP
Right.
spill or something.
It hasn't gotten any worse.
Okay.
All set? Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Finance report.
Hey guys, how's everybody? So here are our November financials. I wanted to take a second to just address some of the questions from the last board meeting. I know that you had asked about the section of the 500s, and why it was, the percent remaining was so low. So what I was able to do here was I actually, if you notice the second page, I took out the 561 excess cost reimbursement and 571 Medicaid reimbursement from the 500s group. And that's because what it was doing was it was actually, because those are revenue items, it was actually understating the expenditures and showing a lower amount remaining, because it was minusing the 458,000 and the reported amount from our other total. So it kind of skewed the 500 as a group. So I took it out so we can obviously still report on it. But now we show the 500s to be at 20% remaining, which I know looks a little bit low as well. But I do believe that the great portion of that contributes to our July payment for the buses. We prepay for the year to receive a discount. And we literally send out that $978,000 first thing. And so it does spend that line quite a bit.
Awesome, thank you.
If that helps at all.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, thank you.
Good, great. It's just all about reporting. Then there was a question about the 330 other professional technical services, and I was able to find that we had a duplicate purchase order. So we had kind of double encumbered the money, and it since has been resolved. Unfortunately, not within these numbers here, only because it was rectified technically in December. So we'll see that cleanup next month. But if anybody else has any questions about what they're looking at here, I actually had the same situation in the 620 computer services. In the beginning of the year, we typically have a really clean list of which purchase orders need to be open on a regular basis, and I think just as changing in staff and everybody trying to make a huge effort in the office, we kind of duplicated efforts. We literally just started opening all sorts of POs, so it worked well. We got bills paid, but now we're just cleaning things up. So I was able to resolve the 620 overage as well, but again, it'll be reflected in December.
I have a question, Val.
Sure.
So student transportation, 581.
Mm-hmm.
The amount remaining, is it because, I'm assuming we're utilizing buses for athletic events?
Mm-hmm.
But is it because we're not doing as many field trips?
It could be. I do know the bulk of that is, to your point, athletic for student transportation, or even extra trips for any after-school events and things like that.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly just looking at it, but I can look into what the bulk of it and how the percentages work.
Okay. I'm assuming that's what's going on.
Yeah, I know that a lot of those field trips are funded out of student activity accounts too. So depending on what the field trip is for, sometimes the money is managed in those accounts.
Any other questions for Val or comments? Thank you, Val. I'm sure that this has been a huge learning curve for you, and we appreciate your explaining.
No problem. No problem at all. I just wanted to note, too, there's also another report here I added. It is a trial balance, so it's not as pretty as our facilities tracking list, but what this will give you is our balances in the technology capital account. So the first line here, technology, and the ending balance is in the negative for 21,000. In this case, that's a good thing, because these are those accounting reports where all the revenue's in negative. So that means we have $21,000 left in technology, and we have $30,000 left in our athletics capital account. And then below is just some changes that happen and things that we've paid throughout November, just kind of like highlights of November.
Val, which line is the technology one?
The first one right up top, I had these highlighted, but we didn't do it in color, I'm sorry. So if you go right across the top, it starts with 220, and then it goes technology, liability, and debits and credits. So our ending balance is 21,000 in technology, but we have not yet received the $79,000 refund, so that isn't reflected in here yet.
So these are the three capital ones. So that's technology, athletics, and this one's facilities.
Facilities,
right?
yeah,
Got it. So
yeah.
all three at equal.
Yeah. And I'm going to do my best to kind of make these look a little prettier too, but give me a little
You have
time.
another copy, I didn't get that copy.
Oh, yeah, you want this one?
It's in our board packet.
Page 32.
It is? Okay.
Do you want a hand copy? Here you go.
I just said everybody else had a paper copy, that's why I was
No
asking
problem,
for it.
there you go. I just wanted to send you guys a report on those because we hadn't touched base on them last month, so.
Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions? Sure.
I think maybe you just said it and I missed what it means. On the bottom, it says November changes athletics remaining balance 30,000. Is that the money that's going to the seating project?
No.
No, that's capital. So the athletics director will submit to the town a capital budget for certain projects. I can't off the top of my head think of what he was planned for this year, but in years past, they had done a scoreboard and redone the, basketball courts and things like that. So he just hasn't spent the money out of that budget yet.
Got it.
So those are for athletic type of large purchases.
Jay, did you have something to add?
Yeah, that money, that was for the floor.
Okay.
We're waiting on the bill from the floor people.
Oh, good.
Maybe they get it to us.
Good. Yeah, look how that works.
For a little while, but we've had great use of it. It looks great. They haven't billed us.
Okay, good.
Is it finished while we're on the subject? I heard a rumor it
Yeah.
wasn't quite.
Oh, yeah, no, it's finished.
All right, good.
It looks great.
So we should see some activity in that account soon.
That should be down. That will be.
Good, okay, cool, great. Good to know, thank you.
Thanks, Val.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much, Val.
No
Do you have a question, Dawn?
Oh,
I'm not sure it's for you. I
Okay.
don't know who it's for.
That's all right.
But you had mentioned how we pay in the summertime or whenever, July, I think you said, for buses, so we
Right.
get a discount.
Yep.
I'm wondering if our contract is being met based on what we've paid, because knowing that there's a shortage and then buses are having to have kids go on other buses, so I'm just wondering if we're actually getting what we've paid for, or if we'll be getting any sort of refund.
I can look into that.
Thanks.
yeah, I do know our contract is pretty spelled out about the number of buses we're entitled to and a number of runs, so we can look at that. Yep.
That's a good question. Great, thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, that brings us to our new business. We have 4 items for our first reading, which we do not take any action on. Is there any questions or any comments about those items? Okay, those will come back to us for a second reading next month, Bruce, which we will, oh, am I not on? Yep, it's on.
Is yours on?
Yes.
He's just not hearing you.
I'm sorry. Those will come back to us next month for a second reading, which we will vote on and discuss then also. We have an opportunity to discuss and vote next month as a second reading. Okay. Is it working? No.
Has a question.
Go ahead, Maureen.
I don't have a question, I just wanted to note that these three policies have been doctored by Shipman and Goodwin, so, they've already been
Vetted.
Yeah, that's the word, they've already been vetted before next month.
So,
Go ahead.
Question. Maureen, in our packet, they still have their line through?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I know you want to see, I know what you want to see, and
A clean copy.
A clean copy with
Yeah.
our logo.
Right, yeah, that's what,
Okay.
yeah, this is for the first reading,
Yeah.
Chelsea always
Okay.
fixes them for the second,
Thank you.
with the number in the corner.
Questions? That's it? Okay, we will move along to our action items. Action item number 1, act on letters of resignation.
Motion to accept the letters of resignation with regret.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Action item number 2, act on the use of non-lapsing funds for the stadium seating project.
Motion to request $30,000 coming out of the non-lapsing funds for the stadium seating project at Lyman.
No second.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Alexis. Just one little bit of information. This we voted on and approved last month, but we did not delineate where the money would come from. We do need to delineate that and have that on record. Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor of using non-lapsing funds for the stadium seating project in the amount of $30,000, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Action item number 3, act on LMHS courses for 22-23. Danelle, did you want to talk about these at all, or do you feel like we covered it pretty much in your committee report?
I think it's been covered, but if anybody has any questions, I could answer, or Jay or Sam could answer. Matt?
So, go ahead.
We just need to have a motion before we can discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to accept the Lyman High School courses for 2022-23.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? Matt?
So I just have some concerns about when I look through these course things. It seems like there's a few holes in some of the stuff that haven't been addressed. Like you look at the CNA program, there's no textbook, and I find that difficult that you can have a thing with no expense for a textbook at all. There's nothing listed, and that seems, having been in medicine, there's always textbooks for that stuff, and I'm just kind of curious why there isn't a textbook cost listed there.
Is it online?
Is there, Rita or Jay? Yep, go ahead.
So, we're doing this in partnership with Three Rivers Community College. They're supplying all the materials for this.
Okay.
There's a tuition fee that covers that.
Which is part of that. It covers the instructor and the materials that instructor's going to use.
So in there, they talked about the grant money. What is that? There's the $8,800 grant. What is that?
So we have Perkins grant money that we've earmarked. You put in the Perkins, like you submit this year for next year. So we submitted this year for all the materials that we need for that class that Three Rivers identified for us, and that's a part of the grant that we will be getting next year.
Okay, and then the question on the $18,000 for the instructor, is that someone that Three Rivers provides, or is that someone we have to provide?
That's somebody Three Rivers provides. We can act like we could find a registered nurse and have that person go to Three Rivers, and Three Rivers would pay them. But they'll,
No, I just was, so I'm just going to go down the list here, because
Go ahead.
a couple of questions. The drone program.
Yes.
There's a lot of not anything there. There's nothing about a textbook, there's nothing about instructor course, there's nothing about any course. It all says to be determined. It's a little vague for me.
Again, we're purchasing something from another entity, and they're supplying all of the materials for that class.
So what is that cost going to be? There's nothing listed for a cost.
There was nothing listed for the cost.
On that particular item, at least the one that I looked at.
Yeah, there were two different companies we looked at. One was called Sky Ops, and that was, I want to say that was like 30, it was like 30 grand.
For the class?
There was another one that, it was Loco Robo, and that was, it was about 10 grand. The money that we were going to use for that was going to come, we were looking to use the ESSER grant for that money, so this was not going to be like Board of Ed money.
For the drone program?
For the drone program.
That's the innovation piece of the ESSER grant.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, actually, Danelle will probably have all the answers to these questions as well. I hate to put you on the spot.
No, you were
Jay.
just answering them. No.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay, okay.
And then the last one that they were talking about, the landscaping, right. One of the concerns I had is that they were buying things. What is the things that they're buying? Are they buying like lawnmowers? What are they buying?
Equipment such as lawnmowers, leaf blowers, whatever else equipment you would need for landscape.
Trimmers, fertilizer, fertilizer spraying machines, aerators.
So my question is where is all this money coming from to pay for all this?
Even the finance committee?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what you're saying is that this is going to be added to the budget. So if you add this up quickly,
Jay has some answers for you.
yeah,
It's not coming from the operating budget. This is coming from the ag department has something that they call the ASCII grant that we get.
Okay.
And we're going to be using the money from that grant to fund this. So
it's going to have negative impact on the budget for next year.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing that it would have an impact is the staff.
It's looking for part-time staff, I believe.
So the impact would be the 18,000 for the one class?
We need an instructor for the turf management course.
So that would be the 20,000 that was there. Or the 15,000, sorry. I wrote these down quick.
20,000 is what's on the sheet.
Okay. So that would be the only impact to next year's budget, is the 20,000, if we...
And those numbers will be more clearly lined out when we start going over the budget. That has all the staffing initiatives. You'll have all different options, because we've talked about doing a .4 and having them just be overseeing the turf management. We've also talked about the possibility of a 1.0 position where they would not only teach the turf management, but they would go down to the middle school and to the elementary school and try to do some of this ag integration that the Board of Education has spoken about. So those are things, as we start to flesh out the operating budget, you'll have a breakdown of all the different projections.
Right.
The other point is, we can't add it to the operating budget if the board doesn't approve the course in the first place.
Right.
So we have to start with the course and then work our way through the funding. Like Andy said, if it ends up being one of those things, unfortunately, that doesn't
Make it.
Right. then
Okay.
we address it when it gets there.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your...
Yep, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? I'm sorry. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the LMHS courses for 2022-23, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Are there any items for the next meeting agenda?
I'd like to have a discussion about the secretaries if possible.
Okay. Any others at this moment? Again, if you have any, at any point, you can always send an email. We will add them to next month's agenda with your feedback. All right, seeing none, we will adjourn at 8:41. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You just let me know.